So I didn't get to make a video yesterday with any answers to your questions because I was so busy. We went on our first field trip. It was amazing. My son got to release a hummingbird back into the wild after it had been caught and tagged and weighed and measured and all that. Such an amazing day. It was so fun. So I wanted to answer a couple more questions for you guys. Somebody asked about our budget, how we budget, and what we spend the most money on. I budget with a cash only envelope system. So I have envelopes for every expense, besides excluding the ones that are automatically withdrawn from our checking account. So I have a set number that I always leave in the checking account for automatic withdrawals throughout the month, plus a little cushion just in case, you know. And then at home I have envelopes and I put cash in those envelopes. So I go to the bank every week and I ask them for the amount of money I need for the envelopes, and they break it down like to singles for me. Like I get 10 singles and then 5s, 10s, 20s, and whatever. So that's how we budget. And I spend the most of our money on food. The way we see it is we're investing in our wellness. And so, yeah, we pay a little extra for food and for meat and eggs because we want the best quality food that we can get, that we can afford. We could afford better quality food if it was available to us and if we had more money. But we try to be wise and frugal and get the best quality food that we have available to us. And so we feel like if we spend our money on that today, maybe, hopefully, we will be investing in our wellness and not be spending it on medical bills tomorrow. And so that's our philosophy. And we are very happy and enjoy that way of life. So I hope that answers that question. And so there's two questions that are similar, so I'll tackle those if I can before I get to work. I'm going to the farmer's market to work the food truck with my mom this morning. Somebody asked what I fight with my husband about the most and when was the hardest time of my marriage. And it's hard because like there's nothing big that we ever have argued about throughout our whole 10 years. Like we've never, I know that like money and sex are the two most the most arguments occur over those things in marriage, but we have never argued on either one our whole marriage. We've had discussion and we've talked about it and been transparent with one another and had open communication about both of those topics, but we've never had conflict about it. I think the only money argument I can ever remember having our whole marriage was way in the beginning. I mean, less than a year married, my husband went out and bought congas. He spent $700 without talking to me first. And I cried and cried and cried. And he realized, whoa, this was a bad decision. And he apologized and, you know, we just moved forward. But that's like the only money argument we've ever had in our marriage. Even when we were dirt poor with nothing, we've never argued. But I do think that those situations, being dirt poor, add stress to your life, even if you're unaware of it, and that stress puts you on edge and you can therefore have more conflict. So I think that the conflict that we have had may have been, you know, the stress of not having money probably contributed to conflict, even though the things that we've argued about in our marriage, I can't really pinpoint something. For me, I think that we're both hot-tempered Latins, and so we argue more about the way we communicate with each other. Like, why'd you say that like that? You know, like little things. And it's not ever like this big, huge topic that I can say, this is an issue. You know, there's definitely areas in me that the Lord is still working on and may cause conflict. And probably the way I talk brings conflict, you know, more often than anything on my side. And it's sometimes I am being disrespectful, having a bad attitude, and sometimes it's just the way I talk. I come across offensive even though I don't intend to, and then that stirs my husband up, and then we have a little conflict. but nothing major, you know. And I mean, even now, we've worked through so much after being married so long. We're a lot more gracious with each other, and the Lord has taught us a lot individually. So yes, we still have conflict, of course. I think that's forever, but it's way farther and like spaced out. From last conflict to the next, it's like months. I don't remember the last time we had a conflict. But anyway, and then I think the hardest time of our marriage was probably about 2.5 years ago. I guess that was around the 7.5-ish mark. I think that we were just both battling a lot of individual sin, learning what it meant to be selfless, having 2 kids so close in age, the little one being so challenging, not having any money, you know, like those things all contribute to so much stress in your life, even if you don't know it, like I already said. And then just, you know, learning to, my husband says it all the time, like daddies just take longer to catch up on what it means to be a sacrificial father. And that was a hard lesson for him. And he, you know, it was hard. And you fight against it as long as you can. Then you realize this is going to be misery, or I have to die to myself and truly like give up my life for the new way things are. And that was just a lesson that my husband, you know, walked through. It wasn't all him. Like, I definitely didn't handle things well. I had my focus on the wrong things, caring too much about what he thought of me, how he felt about me, where our marriage was at, putting my faith in other things that matter, but not more than my relationship with the Lord. And so since I wasn't strong in my time in the Word and my time in prayer, things fall apart, you know? So I don't know. It's hard to like pinpoint, because marriage is hard regardless. And we're always working towards improving our marriage, and we're always battling sin. But I would say that because there was the most amount of conflict, I would say, in our whole marriage during that time, 7.5, 8-ish years, that's the hardest time of our marriage. And yeah, like we had a lot of conflict when we first got married, but I think because there were no children, and I guess just children, because there were no children, it wasn't as stressful and conflicting. So I think that answers that question. So yeah.